Because here's the kicker. I call you up. We all know each other now well. I call you up, you look at your phone, oh my God, it's Daniel Dijon. What's he calling me at 11 o'clock at night for? And I'm like, dude, I just saw the funniest commercial in the whole world, laughed my ass off, you gotta watch it. Where are you gonna go?
YouTube.
Does that make sense? Did all of you stick glued to your TV during the commercials of the Super Bowl?
No.
Of course not. Where were you going to see them?
You.
Yeah. And by the way, key point. At one time, that time slot was sacrosanct and it was protected. And the only way that you were going to see those commercials is if you stayed glued to your TV doing the pee-pee dance, you know, because you really needed to go to the bathroom, but you didn't want to miss that commercial and you'd rather miss a couple of the plays in the football game than, but now the point is, they're already out. I saw them before the Super Bowl on YouTube. Does that make sense?
So if that's the case, why?
That was pee-pee dance, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if that's the case, I heard a report this year for the Super Bowl, they were selling commercials, 30-second clips,
Yeah,
for $3 million apiece.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It is still a
And that sold out
commodity.
in like seconds.
It's still a commodity because you're never going to get a larger audience at one time, except for the Olympics. So the fact is, just by sheer volume alone, when they tell you it's 100 million viewers, even if you get 1%, it's better than most of the times on normal TV. But my point still is, we don't feel that it's sacrosanct anymore. Now here's my point, and this is where I'm leading, and this is when we go back to disruptive technology and evolution. It is this. If I had turned to you 10 years ago and I said, you know what your company needs? It needs TV commercials. You need to do TV commercials. It would be great. What would you have said to me 10 years ago? Not your company. Not my company. You would have said you couldn't afford it, right?
That's right, Mike.
It's too much money. Well, what's YouTube? They're personal TV commercials. They can be so personal that they are home movies, or they could be something where you think that you've got this special talent or these really cute underwear or whatever that you want the world to see, or more importantly, I could invite you to see my CEO's speech for the year, or to review one of the candidates' speeches, or whatever. My point is, now it has become this video archive. Does that make sense? I have videos, by the way. As a company, I've got some incredibly funny videos. If you've never seen them, I can't recommend to you, go to YouTube, type in Sappy, you will laugh your fanny off, because these are players from Second City that we have hired to do real live stories submitted to us by printers. But I use it as a company. Does that make sense? Okay? Follow me, because I'm leading you for a very specific reason. Twitter. Do not underestimate Twitter for a number of reasons, please. The unfortunate thing is most of us underestimate Twitter because it had a very awkward childhood. Okay? If you think back to the beginning of Twitter, who used it?
Media.
Well, be more specific. Celebrities? Yeah. Who else? Dissidents, yes. Hold on to that thought. Kids and celebrities, okay? Why kids? Why would that be so important? And dissidents is that kids taught us that Twitter was real-time messaging. Mobile, real-time messaging. I could contact you anywhere, anytime. Hey, dude, how you doing? Now, the downside was, in some cases, it was like, I'm walking my dog to Starbucks. It was like, oh my God. But the concept of instant messaging was extraordinarily important, and we held on to it. Hold on to that thought. Celebrities. The first time, do you remember the first time that you heard that a celebrity had 500,000 followers, and we thought, really? Why? Okay? Well, there's a reason. Because here's the interesting thing. I'm going to jump forward and then jump back. If 10 years ago I had turned to you and I said, you know what your company needs? It needs a publicist. You need somebody sending out public relations, reviews, PR reviews or PR releases. You need to have your company tell the world about all the great things that it's doing, and you need to know, they need to have testimonials and all the good things that are going. If I said that to you, what would you say to me? Thank you. You're crazy, absolutely. Because the fact is, who could afford a publicist if you weren't a celebrity, right? Zip to the future. What is Twitter? What I want you to take away that is singularly the most important concept in the world here is social networking is in fact the evolution of public relations to the new world. Does that make sense? And here's the interesting thing. Twitter was just assessed as a $1 billion corporation. What is the new tagline for Twitter? Real-time streaming news. Real-time streaming news. There is nothing happening in the world of any importance, walking your dog to Starbucks or otherwise, that is not being tweeted about, being received by an audience. Does that make sense? You do not bring down a country like Tunisia or Egypt. You do not have the Arab Spring. You do not have the distrust in China without having a tool and a medium to unify a mass of people, a lot of them at the same time, in real time. Does that make sense? How does that relate to us? You really, key point, you've got to take this away today. The concept is voice of the customer. The idea that I can communicate with my customers or prospects or potentials in real time, bisynchronously. I can talk to them and they can respond to me in real time. I'm thinking about buying a new wide format press. I send that out as a tweet to all the addresses, to all of my constituency. And they respond, what's a wide format press? Here's the key, and I'm saying this to you between us, okay? Here's the nuance. Why did we allow Twitter to grow as it did? Was at the very root of it, all of us agreed culturally, how much damage can you do in 140 characters?
That's Gilbert Godfrey.
Pardon?
That's Gilbert Godfrey.
Exactly. Exactly. But here's my point to you. If I'm having a conversation with you and I send out 140 characters, right? 10 times. That's 1,400 characters, right? If I send it out 20 times, it's 2,800 characters. 1,400 characters is bigger than most of my emails. 2,800 characters is an article. Does that make sense? So I say to you, I'm going to buy a wide format press. You say, what's a wide format press? And I start in 140 characters. Well, I start to give you the features. It does this, it does this, it does this, and then I start giving you the advantages and the benefits. And I can do this, and I can do this, and I can print on this, and then all of a sudden, you're saying, hey, get on this conversation. It's really creepy, but it's okay, come on. You know, they're talking about wide format presses, and next thing you know, 100 people turns into 1,000 people, turns into 2,500 people. We're having this live conversation, and at the end of it, I realize that out of that 2,500 people, I have 500 prospects who really could use this service. I actually have an audience. I have customers. How much did that cost me?
Your time.
Does that make sense? What I want you to walk away with is this, that Twitter, vis-a-vis voice of the customer, has now become, in fact, the new focus groups. It's become focus studies. I can ask my clients questions. They can respond to me in real time. Key point, in the new marketing model, the two most important components are going to be relevancy and timing, period. Is it relevant and is it timely? Now here's my question to you, sincerely. How do you know what is relevant to your customers? How do you find out what's relevant to your customers? Ask them. Incentivize them to give you an answer in real time. I'm thinking about starting a new recipe club. Anybody want to join? I get 5 answers, I think, I'm not gonna waste my time. I get 150 responses of, yeah, like, cool, like what kind of recipes? Well, I'm really thinking about only recipes that use meringue. I get 5 responses. All right, eggs. I get 25 responses. Okay, it can include breakfast foods. I get 150 responses. Now I think it's worth my while. Does that make sense? But I'm talking to my customers in real time, and they're giving me the feedback. They're in fact focusing me in as much as I am focusing them. Yes,
I
please.
think the key is two-way conversation.
It is two-way conversation, but
that's
we've
why
never had that before.
Print is taken such a downfall. I mean, I just talked to a client the other day who does publishing, and her amount of publishing has decreased dramatically, and now they're doing things on the internet. Instead of printing maps, they're putting maps on the internet that people can respond to.
Yeah.
They can
Well,
plot things.
let's
and it's
address
that
that.
interaction.
Time, let's address that, because I'll tell you what, it took us 10 years to understand something that is very complex. And what is very complex is the cost of entry to go online is relatively inexpensive. The cost of maintenance is not. Okay? We are seeing more companies coming back to print because what they've come to realize is, by the way, how often do you need to refresh your Facebook, or excuse me, your web page before you start losing customers? 4 days. If you do not refresh your web page in 4 days, you will start to lose customers. If you do not refresh in another 4 days, you will probably lose a majority of your customers. Why? I go to your web page. I think it's fabulous. It's really interesting. I'm pulling all this information. I come back in 4 days and nothing has changed. To me, it's stagnant. It's no longer relevant and it's no longer fresh. I will give you another chance. I will come back in another 4 days. If you have not refreshed it by that point, I will go to somebody else's page. Even though you may be trying, it's already done. And to your point is, in some cases, we only do get one chance. Our customers do not have a lot of patience. Now here's what we found out. How many of you can afford to have a webmaster updating your pages every 3 to 4 days? Well, guess what? That's what a lot of corporations found out as well. They walked away saying, well, you know what, the web doesn't work the way they say it does. That wasn't the case. They were looking at the results incorrectly. Because you did not refresh it on a regular basis, you did not hold your client's interest. And if you are going to be involved, you are all in or you're going to be all out.
But if you have a Facebook joining, I mean, if you update your Facebook and do your messaging through Facebook and all, I mean, I thought that kind of takes the place of updating your webpage.
Not at all. Facebook does not replace the kind of information that you get on a website. And to your point, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, Miss Holly. To Holly's point, I mean, here's the interesting thing. Come up to 30,000 feet with me. I'm going to give you a very expensive survey result. How is it going to break out? What's the dichotomy? The dichotomy is this. Culturally, what we will come to realize is we will, in fact, use tablets, or we will use, and by the way, websites as we know them, obsolete. There will be tablet-based pages with all of the things a tablet brings, which means I expect photos to be QuickTime movies. I expect graphs and illustrations to be animations. I expect them to have motion, three-dimensional, etc., because that's exactly what tablets bring to us. And here's the interesting thing. The folks who are doing tablets are exactly the folks who have done websites, but the problem is we didn't do it for websites when we should have, so now they look old and stale, and tablets are the new shiny object, and that's where we're all going. The truth of it is, I'm not going to have that for more than a couple of years. Everything's going to be coming from my tablet.